I'm gonna turn this fan down. Hold on. Not all the way, but it's a little much. Okay. I'm getting back in my energy. This is my life. It's my life. My energy is mine. It's important that I keep it that way. I can share myself freely with others, and I love to. I can receive freely from others, and I love to. I love to incorporate my experiences into my deepest core being. It's a pleasure and a blessing for me. It truly is, and I will always continue to do that as long as I live. But I'm coming to the understanding that commitments, as far as they can be defined codependently, are simply not for me. They're not. I have always and will continue, at least for now, to refuse to commit to anything that compromises me at my core. You know, that's just, it's not for me. That's not what I'm trying to do. So as much as I love people, care for people, love being able to connect with people, love being intimate, love flirting, love engaging in like these different types of energies, those can all exist without having to sacrifice my end goal, which has nothing to do with being with a partner, to be honest. 35 years old and I don't have kids. I'm not married. There's a reason for that. It's not because I haven't been able to find the right person. As much as I can try to convince myself of that because it sounds nice and because it leaves out hope for there to be somebody else out there for me in that specific way, I'm not convinced that there's another single soul that's meant for me in that way, because I don't believe that that concept of commitment is for me. And I'm not trying to dog on it. It's for plenty of people. It seems to make plenty of people happy. By all means, be happy. Do what makes you happy. Just don't attach me to it, because that doesn't make me happy. I'm not trying to be attached to shit, to be honest. Happy to float the fuck away at any time. Not even in a mean way. I'm not here for that. I'm here to teach. I'm here to learn. I'm here to experience. I'm not here to cling and to hold on. And I've been taught that through every experience in my life. I've lost everything time and time and time and time and time and time again. Everything, every relationship that I've ever loved and cared for, every, like, thing that I've worked hard to claim as my own, that's not what the universe has for me, and I have accepted that, and I'm okay with that. If other people can't accept that, that's your lesson to learn. Like, not even sorry, to be honest, at this point. I would like to be sorry. I hate that people's feelings get involved with things and then their feelings get hurt and that they would want to put that on me, but like, I'm not into it. If I say that I need space, I mean it. If I say that I'm not into something at any given time, I mean it. When I say shit, I don't just say it just to say it. I don't need to say shit. I know I never shut the fuck up, but that's because I feel for the things that I'm saying. So if you give me the space to say shit and then don't receive it and don't even try to process it, I can understand people not being able to process shit. But if you're going to actively not take what I say, or take what I say and actively try to make it something else because it fits your narrative better, and even when I try to explain those things, just be unwilling, like, then you're simply not for me. You're simply not, you don't need to be in my energy. All you're doing is fucking shit up. All I'm doing is fucking your shit up. Why would you want to attach yourself to that? Learn the lesson. Move on. I don't know, man. It's a hard one. I know that, like, in my life, like, I leave I leave things. I've left a lot of people. I've left a lot of people, and I felt the pain from that. Felt the pain from that. I've had remorse, and I've experienced regret in those things, but that's life, and like, it just doesn't, I mean, I just don't see myself falling into the comforts and conveniences of our modern social structure, society, or individual concepts of normality. Like, I don't agree with those things. I'm actively living against those things on purpose. And I'm not in suffering. If it's suffering for you to be alone, then go be with somebody. I'm happy. Don't disturb my peace just so that you can validate that I'm miserable. I'm not. You are. And I don't need that shit around me. And I don't want you looking at me and seeing me as something that can make you feel less miserable and then trying to make me miserable just to keep me around because I make you feel less miserable. Grow the fuck up and do it yourself. And I'm not trying to be mean, but that's the same way life has treated me. Daddy's given me that same energy, and that's what I've received, and that's how I've become who I am. So if you see something in me that can help you, that's what it is. It's not even me that you're seeing. It's the fucking lesson that life is trying to teach you. And if it has to teach you through me, so be it. But I'm not sticking around to watch the end of it. I'll literally spend 3 hours watching a movie just to turn it off the last 10 minutes and don't give a fuck. Do not give a fuck. I will not waste more of my time than is necessary. And if I push those things, that's my choice, right? That's my choice. But at any point in time, I am free to do whatever the fuck I want. I'm a grown-ass adult, and I am free to be that. I'm also free to act like a kid if I want. I'm free to do whatever the fuck I want, and I'm going to stay that way. Nice try, though. Okay, I do need to shake this energy off, because that's what it's trying to do, right? Anything that can get under your skin is just trying to control you. Let it go. Get it away. I banish you. I banish that energy right now. I don't want anything to do with it. If I choose to engage with it, so be it. Again, I said it already. That is a gift. If I don't, that's also my freedom. And you have your own life and you can do your own things. Whatever energy is not mine, that's trying to interfere with me right now, I banish you. I want you out of here. I don't want nothing to do with you. This is about me and my energy. I'm here right now with my energy. It's not selfish. It's the most important thing I can do. I am me. Obviously, it's quite easy to get me up in my head or get me in my emotions, right? And people take that as weakness. And to some degree it is. I don't care how easily, though, you can get me into that weakness or how easily you feel that you can exploit it. It ain't going to keep up. Because what you're failing to see every time anybody that tries me, what you're failing to see is that this isn't just me. I give you me on the surface. I give you me immediately because that's what I have to give. But underneath this is the entire fucking universe. If you're not in touch with your own God aspect, you ain't going to be able to reach that far. Because that's all that lies underneath this. And that's all I'm here to teach you. That's all this is for. The giving and receiving are just the math of things. You know, this isn't a personal thing for me. The personal experience is the thing I take an enjoyment in, but I'm not taking any of this shit when I leave. My identity is not attached to this reality. To be clear, I'm not even from here. You don't even go here. And I don't. I'll still run this shit. I don't give a fuck. Okay. Sorry. I took these cards. These are the cards that we have right now. We have 2 bookends. We have 4 in the middle. And then I'm going to be using these as our clarifiers. It's weird that it's continued. This is like, all my readings were very different. the structure of them, and thus the way that I was being told to read them was all very different. The way the cards would come out was very different, and it would change every single time. I feel like the last several readings have been set up just like this. No, I guess there was one that was different. I guess, but this has been multiple times that I've had a reading like this. Because what I'm being told right now too is to put an oracle in the middle. Like, so it's resembling the Never-Ending Story reading, right? Just fine. That reading was fun as fuck. I don't know how many people actually watched it, engaged with it, watched it all the way through. I get the impression that, like, I don't know, this is all just for me, right? And I just do it because that's what I feel led to do, and but it's for me, and I stay in that energy. So I don't know if anyone else is actually listening to all of these things, or if they're kind of skipping through and listening to certain parts. Anytime I've happened to go back to my videos and try to rewatch them, it's just embarrassing. So I don't know how other people are feeling about these things. But they all add up. They all add up. Like, if you were to potentially watch them in sequence, maybe skip a few here and there because they just don't feel like they resonate with you, or like skip through them, I guess. But like, I mean, whatever resonates with you, that's not for me. It's your choice. Take what you take. But like, I don't know, it's just weird because these are all lining up. It's just for me. It doesn't really matter. They're all just lining up a very specific way. I got this oracle card. I don't know what it is. It came face down, so I have it in the middle. We're going to read this like a book, but we're going to actually start with the first, with this first card that is face down. And then I'm going to use the two cards here as a clarifier. Then we'll go to the middle card, use the next two cards, and then we'll end it all together. So this final card that's face down is going to be the bookend. It's going to be what actually, not surmises, but what's the word I'm thinking of? What brings everything together, or what kind of explains everything in a simple way. This is just the breakdown of it, and this is what it looks like. Like I said, if we need any clarification, we will use my other Rider-Waite, my holodeck. It's a holodeck. Go play Fallout. Okay. So, we're starting with the Six of Wands in the reverse. The Six of Wands in the upright is a sense of victory. In the reverse, the first thing that I'm noticing about this card, even when I'm looking at it, is that this horse is looking at the rider rather suspiciously. They're kind of looking back like, bitch. And it's giving me that energy of like, I remember when I was really little and my family watched Braveheart, and I wasn't allowed to watch all of it, but I was allowed to watch some of it. There was a lot of violence that I wasn't allowed to watch in it, but I was allowed to watch some of it. And I remember like a battle scene came on. I was really sensitive as a kid, so I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of things to begin with. But I remember a battle scene came on, and I like cried when a horse got hit. And my parents were like, it's just a movie. Like, they're just acting. It's not real. The horse didn't really get hit. And I was like, no, I know that, but the horse doesn't know that. Like, the horse is acting, but it's actually just been trained to do what it's doing. And so it's just doing whatever it thinks it's supposed to be doing, and it's just trying to please us. And like, in the middle of it, like, there's all this chaos going on, then it gets hit. Like, it just hurt me to think about the horse, like, being put in this position. And like, there's different jokes that I've seen on the internet about that, where like, how unfair for the horses that had like Nazis riding them, you know, or like Ku Klux Klan members riding them and stuff like that, or like people like jousting together and stuff like that, where the horse is like, what the fuck did I do? I don't even support this. Like, but you do support it because you got this dude on your back. You're literally supporting it, right? And so it's almost like this sense of like, right? So it's a sense of in the upright, it would be a sense of victory, but in the reverse, it's a sense of defeat almost. But beyond that, it's like the horse is like, I don't want to carry your sense of defeat. Like, I have nothing to do with this. You can dress me up however you want, and you can direct me however it is that you're directing me, but like, this ain't even about me. Obviously, this is about you, rider. And it's like, looking at it like, you know, with that sense, right? And so then it follows with justice in the reverse. And that's kind of like what I just said, right? Like, it's this energy of like, even if this card were representing defeat rather than victory, that's black and white enough that like it still dictates its own sense of justice. If you lose in battle because you didn't win, that's justice. You might not like it. You would have preferred to have won, and that would look like a pleasant justice, but it's still justice. But in the reverse, it's this sense of injustice, right? Like that, like it isn't, it is, and it's like, I feel for this horse, like it's like, it isn't, there isn't a full justice being served because it isn't a competition between two people or two sides, and one wins and one loses, and we can all accept that. Nobody likes a sore loser or a sore winner, right? So it's like we can accept that and we can be positive and stuff, but there's still an injustice that's happening. And even like in this card, in comparison, in this card, you know, the rider is the one with the wands, and all these wands are standing, and there's the sword right here that the judge has, or the justice, I guess, themselves have. But then the scales right here of justice are actually right where the horse is. And so these resemble each other in that way too, where like the horse is receiving an injustice because the thing you want to ride into battle, like, can serve you, and that's all great and good, and you can find yourself the greatest steed to ride into battle, right? And now you're proud of this steed. You're happy with this steed. You give this steed like all of the best clothing, all of the best food, you give it the best stables, like you could even offer it all of those things. But to personalize your morality and what it is that's driving you into battle with the horse is an injustice. Because although the horse can serve you for your own means, that's what horses do. That's their entire task, right? And a good horse will do that. To then take it on and be like, yeah, because my horse is a Nazi too, is ridiculous. And that's an injustice. So there's something about this horse where like the horse is in disagreement and it's like, I'm not fully being recognized. And in that is this feeling of injustice. The next card that we have is the Ten of Swords in the upright. And so it's kind of like there's a burden that needs to be bared. There's, I mean, somebody's taking on these swords, right? There has to be a loser in this battle. It's not even supposed to be a competition. It's not a competition between the rider and the horse. There's another battle that's happening. The horse is just being used for the rider to be able to take part in this battle. Horse doesn't even want to be part of the battle, but the horse is doing what the horse is meant to do, right? And if you notice too that the justice being in reverse, then the sword is also in the reverse, and thus the sword is actually going the same way that these swords are going, right? They're all pointed down. And so, because like I said, that this actually resembles, in the reverse, it's resembling the rider, with the scales resembling the horse, or with the scales, not resembling, but reflecting the horse, I guess. I don't remember what the word I'm supposed to be using is. And because the justice is in between these two pillars as well, it's giving the sense that like it's either one or the other. And so this sword is reflecting the sword is like the rider, right? And like, even as you can see, like the rider and the person down here are pretty much wearing the same clothing, right? But it's like, because there's another sword here, it's and it's in the card of justice, and there's the scales, it's almost like this would be the inevitability of the battle. But the rider doesn't want to take that on. The rider doesn't want to take that on. And so the injustice being done is that it's being put on the horse in order to balance things out, you know. And that's what it is too, because this card isn't in the upright. So this card isn't a sense of victory. This guy isn't riding into battle assured of his capacity to win. He's moving forward into battle, but it's in the reverse. It's already a loss. And so it's almost like this is like underlying under the surface. And instead of him even going to battle to like fight against the person or the whatever it is that he's battling, the other team or whatever that he's battling, he's actually just internally battling, and he's looking to put that sense of defeat that is lying right under the surface onto the horse, and just to let the horse carry that into battle for him. And like I said, like a good horse like does those things as much as it can, but ultimately it's a fucking horse. It can't do your job for you. It can't win your battle for you. It can protect you in your battle. It can help bring you to that point. It can give you a sense of confidence because you're higher up now and you can move faster, but it can't win your battle for you. Right? And so it's like, these things are reflective of our tendency towards codependency and why I have learned to be so hard-pressed against it. I've learned to be happy alone so that I don't fall and settle into toxic codependency. And I don't believe every form of codependency is toxic. I believe that there's healthy codependency, but I don't believe I'm necessarily given to it, because as an extremist, and after all the extremes I've been through, I've learned how to survive and protect myself how to survive by protecting myself, and how to protect myself by not engaging in codependency. I think those that are able to bind themselves to another romantically, and in a committed fashion, like that can be extremely healthy. And I think that those are good things, and I think that those are necessary things. I just don't think I'm necessarily meant for them, or they're necessarily meant for me. I don't think that's what I'm here supposed to be doing. This isn't about me finding a long-lost partner and then having kids and settling down into a house and just being happy. It's not what my life is. It's not what it's ever been, and I really don't think that's what it's ever going to be, and I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that, to be honest. Like, I think I'm happier with that than I even am continuing to give in to this idea that maybe there's somebody out there for me that I'm supposed to be with. This idea of the one is starting to rub me the wrong way, because I just don't see it that way. I see it very much the way that it is in Fallout. If you play the Fallout games, or Skyrim, or any games like that, you have access to many different companions, and you get to choose which companions that you have, and you can commit to them and have that singular companion forever. You can have multiple companions. You can have a companion for a time and then decide that it's not the best companion for you. You can have companions for specific jobs and only use them for specific jobs, and then use other companions for specific jobs. You can even have a companion that's just an animal, where there's no, some of your companions you have romantic interest in, some of them you don't. Some of them are like, it's not even about like this human companionship. It's about the job that needs to be done and how they can offer those things. Sometimes you get companions just to bear your burdens, or just to open locks for you. Like, there's all of these different ways to go about those things, and the best companion is going to be somebody who works in favor of what it is you're trying to do at any given point in time, right? I've tried to commit. I've tried to find a partner that I can commit to. The ones I tend to find any interest in that way are ones that like aren't even capable of committing. If you've ever played the Fallout series, in Fallout 4, I fell in love with Dan's, who is, he works for the Brotherhood of Steel, right? And he's like a commander in the Brotherhood of Steel. I don't think there's another companion Hancock I fell in love with too, and Hancock I actually had a workable relationship with. But that was something so much more intimate, where it's almost more like a friendship, where like Dan's I was absolutely infatuated with. Like, and he taught me so much, and I loved being able to like try to impress him, and I loved this challenge of trying to get him to fall in love with me when it was so easy for me just to fall for him. Dan's is a synth, and you don't find that out until like later on after you've already been engaging with him to some degree. So he is not capable of romance. Like, he's not built for that. I don't think he can. I'm pretty sure he doesn't even have a penis. Like, he's not even like a real person. Okay. And that's the person that I felt like this, like, that relationship was like my ideal in my head. And that's why I fell for it so deeply. But it's because of this trade-off that I was getting, where like, he wasn't in love with me. I was in love with him, and he was okay with that. I would flirt with him and he would be all awkward about it, but I thought that was so endearing. He didn't give me anything back in exchange, right? What he was giving me was, we're partners. He was ex-military. He was like, you know, we got this job at hand, this task, and we're here to accomplish a task. Quit being weird, right? And I couldn't even help it. And because I was infatuated. But then once I like grew up out of that a bit, we completed our tasks, and then I realized that like where his head was and what he wanted and what he was built for, like I didn't even care that he was a synth, to be honest, at all. But I realized that because he was a synth, what he was built for and where his sense of morality, like what he was trying to do with his life and where his purpose lied, like wasn't the same as mine. So then I moved forward and find Hancock, who is a ghoul, very handsome. He's very stoic. He's very responsible. He's the mayor of Good Neighbor, and he has a great personality. He immediately is very compassionate. He's very welcoming. He's very giving and generous. But he's strong and he's sturdy. Like, he has strong values and cares very much for his people, and he's very protective, and he's very intelligent. So he's pretty much the whole catch, right? He's basically got it all. There isn't anything unattractive about him. Even the fact that he's a ghoul, I don't give a fuck. I still find him hot. The only thing I didn't like was when he was dressed like a fucking old British soldier. Not a big fan of that. I got him in some Raider clothing, and that man was hot as hell. And he actually, we fell for each other. You know, in the game, you're allowed to fall in love. So, like, his character and I actually did fall for each other. We had this relationship, and we worked very well together. He was an incredible partner. I didn't have to even tell him to do shit half the time. He knew what I was doing. He would learn. He was actually learning me. He was learning the way that I did things, and then he would just do certain things. He was actually willing to even compromise his own morality to benefit me. But then he wasn't afraid either to, like, let me know I'm not willing to do that, or I don't think that you should do that, or hey, you know, that we need to have a talk about this. Like, he was honestly an incredible partner. Wonderful partner. And I was very happy to be with him. And I was with him for a long time. And I kept almost like, I was like trying to build up, like, to have a home with him so that, like, we had a safe space to come to where we could just, like, enjoy each other, do the dirty. But within the game, and just because of the way that life is in the game, like, it came to a point where, like, we had to go our separate ways because I had to go take care of some super mutants, and I needed a super mutant to be my companion at the time. In order to be able to do this task the way that I needed. Not that I couldn't do it without him, but it would just make more sense for me to do it with somebody else. And I left him to take care of his own work at Good Neighbor. And he looked real sad when we parted ways. And I remember being like, still feeling the way I felt for him romantically, but being willing to move past that in order to have this other partner that I had no romantic interest in. But because this companion was who I needed at the time for the job at hand. And that taught me a lot about the way that I am and tend to be in relationships. And like, even, you know, I know it's just a game, but like it is very deep when it comes to those things, because it taught me like my capacity to be able to process those things and, you know, act certain ways and not act certain ways. And then in Skyrim, which I was playing back and forth in Skyrim, I started a character that was this dude that I was infatuated with, this dude that I had an actual crush on in real life. I made his character, and he was my first tank character. And this character was stronger and braver than any of the other characters I've had. I'm always very timid when I'm playing the game, and I play it very realistically. But his character, like, didn't give a fuck and was willing to do all these things that I wasn't willing to do with any of my other characters. And he would just, like, run full force into things, just swords blazing. And it was really fun playing that way, because I hadn't played that way. He gave me, playing as his character gave me like this confidence that I hadn't had prior. And so like as I was playing with him, like you know, first I have like this companion, Lydia, who is a strong, independent woman, very capable, very strong, brave as hell, willing to go right into battle right alongside me, right? And she's beautiful, and we have the same goals, so she works great with me, right? So I have this deep love for Lydia, but it's also like more like it's like a companionship, like a true companionship. I'm not afraid to send her away to go complete tasks. I'm not afraid to send her into like certain places where I know like it's incredibly dangerous, and she'll be able to handle herself while I go do other things. She'll do locks and stuff like that for me, or take different things, and she'll be my beast of burden. She'll carry all my shit. Be like my pack mule, you know, like all of that. And she takes care of herself, and an incredible companion. But like I found myself in the game like being satisfied with her that way, but then also deciding that like, because something that you can do in the game is you can get married and have kids and have houses, and I wanted that, but you can't do that with Lydia. That's not what she's built for, right? She's too smart for all that shit. She's not built for staying and taking care of a house and having kids. She's out there fighting fucking dragons. So my character ended up finding this like hot blonde bitch in town and marrying her and having a couple kids. And then first he had them in one house, and then he moved them, like, then he worked for a while to be able to afford this better house and do missions to afford this better house. Moved them all to the best place, to Solitude. He moved them all to like the nicest area in Skyrim, so that his kids could grow up around all these other kids and they could all have all this fun and stuff. And his wife would have like women around that she could interact with and everything like that. And just to make his family happy. And like, you know, he'd come back every so often and see his family, give him the food that he had gotten, or give him gifts that he had gotten. His wife would give him gifts. They'd spend a little time together. But it was just funny to me, because then like he continued to have Lydia as his partner, as his companion, but then he also had this hot NPC wife, and I didn't have a problem with that. I saw myself as Lydia, literally like battling dragons with this guy I had a crush on, and then like knowing that he had gone and gotten a wife that he was having kids with, that he like built an entire house for. Meanwhile, he's just giving me all of the shit he doesn't really want to carry but doesn't want to get rid of, and I'm just like, and throwing me into suicidal missions, and I was doing it happily as Lydia, right? Or like seeing this dynamic. So I've learned about myself from these games, and I've learned that like commitment doesn't really mean, at least to me, what like it seems to all these other people. But I don't think it even means that to everybody else either. I think that's why these games are so appealing to so many different people. And it's not just poly people that are actually truly not given to commitment. I don't think that those senses of commitment, those ideals, truly actually exist. I think that people used to get married because marriage was considered, because like the ideal, and you were married in order to maintain a relationship, in order to maintain your family. You need to get married to have kids, and everybody was having kids because it was necessary for survival, and that was the point of marriage. I don't think most people, for most of our thousands of years, were marrying for love. I think that there's been periods of time where that was the case, or there's been rare handfuls of people in different cultures where that's been the case. But I think in general, people have always married for commitment so that they can both have them both around for raising a family. And the only reason they stay together after their kids are grown is because then their kids have kids and they become grandparents and then they help their kids raise kids. It's like, I think that it's been much more mathematical than like we tend to think it is now, where people tend to be very idealistic now. We're like, oh, I want the perfect partner that just loves me all of these ways, and we have all of these things, and then we fall into this love, and then we stay married, and it's all just love, 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 love. I don't think that's real love. I don't think that's what real love looks like. I think love looks like letting people be. Just letting people be themselves, and being okay with that, and not letting it hurt you, and not hurting them because of it. I don't think love is tying yourself to somebody even while you're both drowning. I don't think love is going down with the ship. I don't think that that's what love is. I think that it is a lot of things, and that it covers a lot of things, and that it moves mountains, and changes us fundamentally. But I don't think it's this thing to cling to. I don't think it even exists like that. I think that's an illusion. I think it's far more tangible than that, but also like slippery in a way. I think it's like water. You're not going to grab a handful of water. It's going to spill out of your hand. You can keep a little bit of it. Maybe even that isn't it. It's not like you can contain the entire ocean, right? So why do we keep trying? I think that we've convinced ourselves, a lot of people like to convince themselves that the act of trying to contain the ocean is love. And if I try to contain the ocean for you, if I try to catch the moon and lasso it back to you, if I try to contain the entirety of the universe just for you to give to you, that's love. And I think that's imprisonment. I think that's a trick. I think that's invalidating what exists as it exists, and saying that by doing something different and making it something different, that's what makes it love. And I just don't believe that. I don't believe that. I've had relationships taken from me. I've lost many people. I've lost everything. And I still love. I still love those things. Those things still love me. They still love me. They still carry me. They still teach me lessons. They still give me strength. They still support me and help me through hard times. Like, I don't need a roof over my head to feel safe. I don't need money in my pocket to feel secure. I don't need somebody's arms wrapped around me in order to feel valid. That isn't love. That's codependency. And I believe that that's a toxic codependency when you start convincing yourself that that's where your value lies as an individual. And I think what it looks like is riding a horse into battle already sure of some sort of defeat, and then putting that onto the horse because you still want to feel some type of way, and you don't just want to admit to yourself that you aren't okay and that you want somebody else to make you feel that way. I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. There's other people that are here for that. For times, sure. I don't know. That's not for me to speak on. I'm here to show people something deeper than that, and something beyond that, and themselves. I'm like a mirror, so that people can look at themselves and look really, really deeply and really see themselves. Not the thing on the surface. I'm not the mirror you get to look at to put makeup on. We have those. They're all around. Everybody serves their own purpose. I'm like a black mirror that you look deep inside and then start to see somebody else and then lose yourself in and then have to come back to find yourself. I'm not sorry for it. Our oracle card right in the middle of the reading is the Ring of Solomon. It's a key. He has a key on his cloak. Then there's the sun shining. What is this? The right hand? Oh, it's the left hand. I don't know why I'm so bad at that. Okay, so the power. point with this finger, right? It's direction. It's the sun. And it's encapsulating the whole palm. A particular direction. The moon is right behind it. Our emotions, our intuition, our spiritual aspects are right behind it, and then are being driven by the positivity that is on the forefront and coming into what we are able to receive. Our left hand is the receiving hand. Our right hand is the giving hand. Our left hand is the receiving hand, and so it's the positivity that we're receiving from our capacity for selves. The key of Solomon, there's two keys. There's an old temple and a new temple. The ring of Solomon, the ring of power. When you put on the ring, it brings you into this other dimension where, although you're protected from the tangible reality, you are now being seen by an extraterrestrial, an interdimensional force that is set on getting that ring back, that is set on essentially killing you to get that power. So those that bear the ring have to be extremely careful what they do with it. You can't be tempted to just wear it all the time and keep it. It gives you a sense of empowerment. But it also makes you invisible to this world, right? To the tangible reality. And that's speaking on this independence. As much as there can be a toxic codependency, and it's very common, especially nowadays in relationships, and it's something that I'm extremely wary of, and something I would like to see other people being wary of. Like I said, I want to see healthy codependency, and I believe that does exist. I just don't believe it's as common as we like to believe it is, because I believe we tend to be a little more idealistic than is helpful or healthy. I think we cling to idealistic standards and create a sort of insecurity within ourselves that we can't fulfill ourselves or can't be fulfilled within ourselves without these external codependent connections. However, being too independent makes you invisible, and being that invisible for so long can have you losing yourself and losing your power. There's a power in it, but it's about the receiving of that power instead of the giving of it. So it's almost like, if I push too hard for independence, if I'm like unwilling to connect with people because I'm so independent and I don't need anybody else, right? If I get into that attitude, I'm no longer actively receiving, and now I'm being overtaken by the ring, where I just want to be invisible, and I'm letting this power of being independent overtake me. And that ultimately is not helpful to creating sustainable connections or to helping benefit a sustainable reality, which is my ultimate goal. That's why I'm here. Just because I'm not here necessarily to commit to a sense of codependency doesn't mean that I'm free to ignore connections in replacement of, or in replacement for independence, or that I am even independent. It's not the independence of this that is what makes you powerful. It is independence. It does separate you from the codependency of reality. However, what made Solomon so powerful was wisdom. not independent strength or intellect or his riches. Not all of the, I mean, he's filled with esoteric knowledge, but that wasn't his strength. It wasn't the knowledge. It was the gnosis of that knowledge. It was the wisdom. This is gnosis. To be able to come from one's own intuitive aspect into one's own active consciousness, receiving it in the subconscious, applying it through wisdom, and then out of this is where anything that comes out of you comes. It's not just the act of receiving it. There's two keys. This card is just depicting the one. It is, but ultimately the one denotes the other, right? And so it's that this is the first step. This is the initial step. This is the initial process. This is putting on an oxygen mask when a plane is crashing first before you try to put anybody else's on, so that you can ensure that you can put others on. Because if somebody's already passed out, you can put an oxygen tank on them, an oxygen mask on them, and they can be revived. But if you pass out, you aren't putting an oxygen mask on anybody. So you have to care for yourself first. You have to be able to receive these things first. There has the wisdom, true love, independence, the capacity for those things, leading by example. It has to come through you. You can't lead by example by forcing people to do what it is you want them to do. It's not how it works. You just keep doing your thing, showing people the benefits of it. And I was saying this to a friend the other day too, because I was like, if you keep yourself in a concept of like, I have to do this thing and I have to be this way and everything like that, but everybody else can be some other way, while you're hoping to help other people become some way, like if you are beating yourself up in order to get to the top of the mountain, and you are absolutely just wrecking yourself to get to that top of the mountain, you're not really doing a great job of showing people like the benefits of getting to the top of the mountain, right? If you waste yourself to get to that top of the mountain, it doesn't matter that you're at the top of the mountain. You have nothing left. It's great that you can see that now in large scale, but if it takes everything that you have to get there, it's not worth it. The journey is what it's about. It's not about reaching that precipice. If you can reach that precipice and maintain yourself in that process, incredible, amazing, great. You made it. You did it. You can leave Samsara now, but like, that's not what it's really about. It's about the journey to get there and about learning those things in order to, you can't get there without that. So, there's this importance of not just isolating oneself for the sake of isolation. This isn't about self-preservation, but it is about self-care. You can't genuinely give care to others without first knowing that care for yourself. You may think that what you're giving to others is love, but if you have yet to receive love for yourself, how do you know that that's what it is that you're giving? You don't even have love in you to give. What you're giving is codependent behavior. What you're giving is a need for validation. What you're giving is an expectation that somebody else can make you feel the ways that you don't know or aren't willing to feel for yourself. That isn't love. That's whatever the fuck this is. Okay, so what is love? You have the chariot in reverse. Like I said, it's just letting things be. It isn't giving, it isn't taking. The chariot is great in the upright as a depiction of balance, of give and take, of light and dark, of moving forward, moving backward, of being able to balance all of these things out. But in the reverse, it's kind of like a standstill. It's a standstill. And it's in that space that you're able to recognize things for what they really are. And it's very important in love. Because if you're constantly saying, no, it can't be that. No, I'm afraid of when it's like that. No, I won't receive that. Then you're not open to love. And if you're not open to love, then you can't truly be open to giving it either. Because you ain't got none to give. You know? So like, you can't be afraid to just let things be. Letting things be is how you learn what things are. And that's how you learn how to love them, truly. Because dictating that something be something other than what it is, simply because that's what you want it to be, isn't love. It's control. And pushing something forward or backward or trying to cram it into a certain space in order to say that now you can accept it because that's what makes you feel comfortable isn't love. It's manipulation. And trying to change yourself or change the environment or make things appear a certain way just so that everybody can feel a sense of acceptance and then calling that love isn't actually love, it's coercion. Letting things be and then moving forward from that direction is the best chance we have at actually loving truly. Because it's when you're in this space that you can receive things. It's in this space that you can give things, but it's also in this space that you can't give or receive until you've reached this point, to be clear. What you think you're giving and receiving is actually just deflection and expectation. You have to be willing to sit with yourself, to truly know yourself, and to truly know the reality around you. And you won't know that if you're constantly moving through it. You know, I realized that I used to be on the road all the time. And like when I was living out of my car, I would find myself moving around a lot. I wasn't just staying in one space. Every once in a while, there were a few times when I just didn't have the money to be driving. So I'd stay parked in a parking lot for extended periods of time. But for the most part, the years that I lived out of a car, I was moving around a lot. I was just always driving, and that's how I kept myself safe, you know, and also kept myself like mostly hidden and unseen. I didn't want to bring any extra attention to me because I didn't want to risk getting in trouble for living out of my car. You know, like in Kenosha, you're not allowed to do that. You're allowed to stay in certain parking lots for a certain amount of time, but if they catch on to the fact that you're homeless and living out of your car, you can get ticketed and even arrested. I don't know if it's still that way, but it was that way when I first started living in my car. So I learned quickly that, like, especially if I was traveling through places where I didn't know the law, it was safest to only stay parked somewhere for 2 to 4 hours and then to move. And what I found was, like, as many places as I've been, and even technically lived in those spaces, because I was living out of my car in those spaces, right? And so I'm, like, around those spaces all the time, driving around in them. I know all those roads and stuff, but, like, I don't really know that place. Because I never took time to be able just to sit there and be in it. I was always having to do this or do that. Always having to be moving about. Always having to be driving forward. Always having to like be looking for what the next thing was. And largely just in part for survival. That was how I was going to find how, you know, is there a place I can live? Is there a place I can park? Is there a place I can stay? Where am I safe? Like, what can I do? How do I get out of this situation? Because I don't really like living out of my car, to be honest. Right? So like none of that, I can look back now and be like, damn, I've been through so many places into so many places and like never really actually got to know them because I was always moving. And relationships are very much that way. You know, I've had to learn, I was doing that for a while. I had done it for a bit when I first started kind of engaging sexually. I had been in a relationship and then I got out of it and then I kind of slutted it up for like an entire year straight. Where like it was extremely casual. I was pretty much with anybody that I felt like being with. I didn't really make much of it. Everything was extremely casual. But I was moving through those relationships very quickly, right? Get this person one time and I'm fine. Okay, had you, learned you, I'm good. And then I would move on. And I did that after my last relationship too, which we only dated for like 11 months out of the year and a half that we were on and off. But then we lived with each other for years after that even, and we dated other people. And he always managed in relationships better than I did. Mine were always very short-lived, and they were with people I wasn't truly properly matched with. And I just started moving through relationships very quickly again, and then I took another long-ass break. And that's, you know, and so even then, like when I was dating, it was very casual. I haven't officially been in a relationship since I was with my ex back in 2016. And so, you know, this concept of moving through those things very quickly, like I've learned, especially within the last couple years, to just kind of sit and let things be, and let things come to me, and be able to work them out that way. It's taken a long time, and I've really only gotten pretty okay with it at it for the last like few months. I'm 35, you know, so it's not like it's easy. It's not like it's, at least for me, it's taken quite a process even just to get this point of being like, no, I'm okay taking time. I want somebody to take their time with me. If you're not willing to take time, and if you want to just keep pushing forward and rushing ahead and seeing all there is to see, you ain't for me. I'm not here just for your enjoyment and entertainment. I can be when that's what I'm offering and giving, but you don't get to dictate that from me. You know, if you're not willing to receive what it is that I'm offering and willing to appreciate that, I'm not going to continue offering you things and being willing to be with you. Okay, so that's where love is at first. It's just letting things be what they are and learning how to love yourself without being affected by that. You don't have to be afraid of that. You don't have to let it be like, oh, well, this person isn't trying to be with me, so I must be some piece of shit that's so undeserving. That's not love. It's not love. You're taking things personally and making them something that they're not. Just let things be. But what else is it? Well, this is the 7. I don't know what that sound is outside. The 6 of Pentacles. But it's in the reverse. So it's also not just giving to others. It's weird because this card actually, like, I think in my own concept, like, I do tend to see love in the upright of the 6 of Pentacles, which is that if you have something to give, you give it to others because they're in need. And when somebody's in need, you give to them because you have it to give. And you don't have to overgive of yourself. There's a sense of balance here. He has a scale. But when there's people in need, you give it to them, and that's love. Or like, it's getting back into like the sense of like, yeah, but that's not really love. That's not, you have to love yourself first. Because then what is it that you're giving? You know, you think you're being generous by giving this person $20, but you don't love yourself enough to recognize what it is that they actually need, and they're just using that money to hurt themselves worse, and you're just using it to try to make yourself feel good for giving. Is that really love? I gave my friend an oracle reading the other day, and they got this card, and in it I recognized that like there's an imbalance here innately. One of the pentacles is over the person giving. 2 of the pentacles are over the scale, and 3 of the pentacles are over the person receiving. So it's almost this concept that like, 1, you're giving more of yourself. You're giving the least to yourself. And that's generally the concept that we get in these things, where it's like, okay, so I'm capable of compromising, and it's good that I compromise myself because I'm the one that's in control of that. And like, it's better for me to make myself compromise and to receive that and to work through that than to make somebody else compromise, right? Which is fair, but you're not making anybody else compromise by not giving to them just because they're in need. They're compromising themselves. You're not responsible for anybody else. You are responsible for yourself. So as kind and great as it can be to give, I mean, there's still pentacles out here to be given. There does need to be a balance. And our balance is out of order. We have more pentacles being given to those in need than we do to a sense of balance. And that's because we're giving the least to ourselves. If anything, we should be giving everything to ourselves first, and then out of that would come this balance into all the rest of the things. But it would go through us first, and then through balance, and then out into those who need it. Right? We can't, again, if you do not receive love for yourself first, how do you know that that's what it is that you're giving to anyone else? How can you say that that's love? How can you say that that's what it is that you're giving? Because I've been that person that did that for most of my life. And I let it make me slightly embittered. It hurt my feelings. It made me feel unworthy and invaluable because no matter how much of myself I gave, it never was being returned as love. I was like, You know, if you love something, you give it away and then it comes back to you if it's real. Why is this never coming back to me? Because it wasn't real. And that was invalidating, and that made me feel a lot of really shitty ways about myself. But that's only because my concepts of what love really were askew, and they weren't in alignment with who I really am or what I really have to offer. It's not that I can't be giving. I can be giving to everyone. I can love everyone. I have so much to give, but only when I first know how to receive. Because how can I sit here and expect others to do what I'm not willing to do myself? Well, I'm not going to receive love. I don't deserve love, but you do. That's ego. That's ego. That's egotism. That's narcissism. It's bullshit. It's not real. That's not real balance. That's not real love. So it's this friendly reminder that, like, give if you have something to give, but don't give more than you're giving to a sense of balance, and don't give more than you give to yourself. If you are truly fulfilled, you can give out of yourself and give out of your own fulfillment. But again, like I said with I think it was my last reading, if you're pouring out of your cup and you keep pouring out of your cup and you keep pouring out of your cup, because there's always going to be people in need. But if you don't recognize your own need, you'll start pulling your cup apart to give to people. And then what are you left with? More work to do so that you have to build yourself up just to be able to contain love at all to give? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And if I can assure you of anything, it's that in my life, when I have been neglected and abused and ignored and not seen and misunderstood and taken advantage of, that all of those things that weren't love led me to truly be able to recognize what love is within myself. And when I've been able to recognize it within myself first, I've been able to genuinely give it to others to any degree. And I was not able to do that before. Not saying I'm perfect at it. Not saying I'm out here just like mastering all these things great perfectly. Okay, I'm still in the process myself and I'm still learning. But I do know that to be true. I do know that to be true. That everything that I didn't receive left space for me to receive all that I have. And I'm very thankful for all that I have now and all that I am and all that I have to give and, you know, all that I'll be able to in the future because of everything that I have and haven't received. So you don't have to fear like, oh, but if I don't give this person this part of me, they'll be lost without it. I give those things up to the universe. I move on faith. That's not for me. If I don't have it to give, then the universe isn't asking me to give it. Because the universe would give it to me if it was supposed to be given back into the universe. It's just easy for people to ask for things that they aren't willing to fill themselves with, right? So be keen to acknowledge if those things are just expectations from those that don't actually need it. These people are poor as hell. Yeah, you might have a lot more than them, and it might be an awkward balance that way, but there's a reason that they're in this position as well. They don't need everything that you have to give. Give just a little bit. See what they do with it. If they're extremely grateful, if they take it and multiply it, incredible, great. Then you can give more. I don't know the exact Bible story. There's a story like that where like these people were given a certain amount of money and like those that were given less didn't know about those that were given more, and those that were given less went and invested it and turned it into more. And those that had received more were so contented with it that they came, when everybody came back in the end, they were like, okay, so what do you have now? And those that were given more had essentially nothing because they had just taken what they had been given and were living off of that because they'd been contented with it. But those that were given less had actually went and invested it to make more of it because they weren't so assured of just being able to constantly receive it. And there's such an important lesson there, especially if you're somebody that's a giver. Especially if you're somebody that is naturally empathetic. It's great to be that way. That's how we should be. That's a natural human quality. We define people that lack empathy as antisocial personality disorders, and it's considered a disorder, right? So being able to be empathetic is hugely a part of being a healthy individual. However, giving of yourself to the point of compromising yourself to people that do not deserve or appreciate what you're giving is also unhealthy. You know, and if you give too much all the time, right off the bat, which is my tendency, Not gonna lie. It's often why I keep myself so isolated, because I like to give. I like to give a lot. I like to give it all. When I see somebody feeling some type of way, I want to be the one just to give them everything. Not so that they cling to me or feel some way about me, but just because if I got it to give, I don't want to see them going without it. But that's the downfall, because if I'm the one that's able to give all of that, they're going to start looking at me like you're the one I get that stuff from. No, go out and find it somewhere else. But they weren't allowed to do that if I'm the one fulfilling all of that for them. You have to let people have the space to go and find those things for themselves. And you have to trust that they can. And that they will if that's what they really want. You're not in control of other people as much as you want to be. And you have to understand that by trying to validate yourself by giving, you're actually just trying to validate yourself by controlling other people's need. That isn't your place. That isn't love. That isn't love. Give out of what you have to give. But don't give your all to anyone but you. I mean it. Like, it might sound selfish. I know these aren't things that we speak about like that in this society. We love to be able to say, give your all. Give your all. That's what love is. Just love this person with everything that you have. And it's okay even if everything is super fucked up and terrible. Like, that's still the better option. It isn't. That isn't what's sustainable. And that's why the world is going to shit. Okay? It's bound to happen regardless. It's part of the process. But what we're learning in this is to be able to build on these sustainable concepts. So please receive of those. Receive, for once, yourself, so that you have something worth giving, instead of just expectation that people just love you for you. I get that that's what we're offering others, and that's a beautiful thing and it's a great thing, but we do require balance. There is two scales out here. There's two scales out here, okay, already. But we also have the Ring of Solomon, which is wisdom and balance. And we also have the Chariot, which is a picture of balance. So balance is like extremely important. Knowing ourselves, being honest with ourselves, being willing to take on our own burdens. These things are all very important. That's part of letting things be too, is that like, if this is how you feel, that's okay. It's part of the process. That's part of the process. It's not some bad thing. If your partner starts to feel like shit, that's okay. Let them. Be there with them, but you don't have to sit there and pull them out of every hole that they've dug themselves into. Give them a chance to do that. It's important. How else are they ever going to learn? They're not going to get strong unless they do that work for themselves. It's nice to be able to have somebody there supporting you, but don't do the work for other people. It doesn't help them to be that way. And our last card is the Tower in the reverse. The Tower in the upright is a sign of everything crumbling and falling apart, getting up on a high horse and being brought down to size about it. But in the reverse, it's this sign of building from the ground up. Everything might feel broken. Everything might feel like confusion. It might almost seem like you have nothing to build off of to begin with. But that's what love is. Let love build. Let love be the thing that guides that. Let love be the spark that starts something greater than what was. Let love be the spark that ignites your compassion for yourself and your capacity to be able to alchemize nothing into everything and then out of it. Because you don't need to turn everything into nothing just to feel something. And we tend to do that too, and that isn't love. I don't know how much more time I have because this just told me that the shit was about full. But I'll try to go a little bit further. The Tower in reverse. It's a sense of not having to know for oneself. Being able to, trust in a greater power than your own. Like the Tower of Babel. We had this concept that we could reach God by coming together and building up this tower that was tall enough. And it all came crashing down. And then we all dispersed in our own bitterness, and suddenly we couldn't properly communicate with each other anymore. That happens all the time in relationships and in commitments. You build up this huge tower, and then you fall so hard and so far and are hurt so badly afterwards that you forget how to even talk to one another. And you move in separate directions. And you have to spend all of this time to even come back together, and that's if you even do. It's important to remember that those things weren't love. That what you were building wasn't love. And that's why it came crashing down. Because love persists through all of this. Love is the thing that's underneath this surface as all of this is happening. Love is how you can have something so bright and beautiful and true and deep, but also these shallow wounds. There's love existing underneath all of that, and that's the thing that we should be clinging to. Not just each other and the validation we can get from each other, not just commitment in the sense of this is what I want and this is what I'm going to do and this is what it's supposed to look like and feel like and be. It's letting things be. Just letting things be what they are and trusting that and moving through that. And not feeling like you have to keep giving of yourself more and more and more just to validate it. Love is already valid. It doesn't need to be validated. It doesn't need to be built on top of. It doesn't need any of those things. It needs to just be let alone and to be what it is. You know? You can put on wisdom. You can put on strength. You can put on endurance. You can put on these types of things. But love is going to be the thing underneath it that's really driving it. You know, so like even in this first image, like love is that horse you're riding into battle. It's not reflective of who you are. It's not taking on your identity. It doesn't have to agree with you. And it doesn't even have to really care about the battle itself or who wins. It's just there to help you get where you're going. You know. It's the scale underneath all of these things that brings everything into balance. Not the giving that makes us think that that's where our value lies. Not the truths of ourselves that make us think that this is what we deserve. It's the thing under that, the balance under that. And if you aren't willing to get there yourself, the universe will get there for you. And it'll put you there. So open your heart and be willing to receive and be willing to take time with yourself. Be willing to take time in your own wisdom and understanding what that is. Building your own kingdom. Be willing to take that space to build it. Without needing validation from others. Without needing anything from others. Because otherwise it ends up looking like this until you learn how to get off your fucking face and start standing up for yourself. As long as you convince yourself that that's what you deserve, that's what you're going to continue to get. You are the power manifester of all things. You are the master creator of your own reality, but you have to embrace that. You have to know that. You have to trust that you are that king. And then you can move forward in that. But until you have that, you're just putting all of this on your horse. And you're already dead set that you're not going to succeed in this battle. Which is putting your horse at risk. To be clear, it's not fair. So step down from your tower. Step down from those high concepts. And be willing to start from the bottom up. From the bottom up. Take that time. Take that space. Get to know people for real. And just let them be. And just love them as they are. Don't take it so personal. Nothing's personal. Everything just exists. You know? Alright, this is for real gonna shut off. So, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. I hope that this helps. Take some time in meditation. Loving yourself. And I will see you in the next video.